about your assignment for the distribution of power. This one's about state power. We're going to be continuing through state, federal, and local powers. And I just want to make sure that you're able to understand this assignment because it's kind of tricky. But what you're going to do is you're going to start off by reading the state power document, which has some information about what our state government is able to do compared to what our federal government is able to do. And then down here, activity on page 3 and 4 you have in your packet that I printed for you. You're welcome to complete these, and then I will collect them once we turn in our papers on the 24th. But what you're going to be working on, that the activity I'm talking about, is on page 5, the state power, 8 for the state. So your state powers that, or the power that your state government has, is all of these areas. So they can create laws in any of these topics. What you're going to do is to draft a story about, you can talk about a town or a mayor or a concerned citizen, and you're going to include these laws or these areas that they have the power to include. Remember, your story should have characters, a beginning, a middle, end. It should have a problem, a resolution. And you also want to make sure that I'm able to find your 8 state powers. So your Google Doc looks like this, and I copied this into the document and I included all those directions up here. What you're going to do is type up your story. And it does talk about making a cartoon, but just for simplicity's sake, I did a Google Doc, and you can add in whatever pictures you'd like. But what you're going to work on is telling a story about using the state's powers. So let's say I'm talking about pets and animals. I can say that in my town, a person is struggling because they would really like to have a 3rd pet. And right now, the state law says you can only have 2 pets if you live in the city. So they are going to write to their mayor, and they are going to ask the mayor to be able to have a 3rd pet in their home. And you can go on and tell the story, but that's just a simple example of how you use the powers in a story. You're going to need to make sure you have all of the qualifications that are up here, as I mentioned before: beginning, middle, end, important characters, problem and resolution, and the 8 state powers. Now, the last thing I want to show you really quickly is if you are going to highlight them as you go. For example, I talked about animals as my first state power, and I want to highlight that. I'm going to click and highlight the text, and then I have 2 options. I can come up here and change the text color, or I can click this button that looks like a highlight that says highlight color, and click a color that I want to highlight it, and that will highlight the text as well. So this is your activity to complete today. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, and I can't wait to read your stories.